Stop. Before you take that bag of trash out tonight, I need you to look inside it, because there is a very good chance you are about to throw away $40 worth of food that was about to grow itself back. The bottom of the celery you chopped tonight, that was a complete plant. The sprouted garlic clove you tossed because it looked weird, that was 6 new heads of garlic waiting to happen. The pineapple top in your compost, that was a fruit tree. The grocery store has been quietly counting on you, not knowing this for decades, because the day you figure it out is the day they lose a customer for life. I'm about to walk you through 25 kitchen scraps that grow back into full edible food, most of them with nothing more than a glass of water and a windowsill. Watch this whole video. Your grocery bill is about to look very different by the end of next month. If you have ever stood in the produce section staring at the price of green onions and wondered when exactly they decided 3 skinny stems were worth $4, you are in the right place. Hit subscribe right now. This channel exists for exactly that reason. Every single week I put out the kind of content the produce industry would prefer you never stumble across. Subscribe, and let's start growing food out of garbage together. If you're enjoying this walk through the plants your grandmother knew about, hit the subscribe button and let us know in the comments where in the world you're watching from today. Scrap number 1, green onions. This is the gateway drug of regrowing food, and once you do it, you will never go back to buying them again. Take the white root end of any green onion, the part you normally chop off and throw away, and put it in a small glass of water on your kitchen windowsill. Just enough water to cover the roots. That is the entire process. Within 3 days, you see new green growth pushing out of the top. Within 7 days, that growth is tall enough to harvest. Within 2 weeks, you have a full green onion ready to use again. And here is what makes this almost unfair to the produce industry. You can keep doing this with the same root indefinitely. Cut, regrow, cut, regrow. One bunch of green onions becomes a permanent supply for as long as you remember to top off the water. Change the water every 3 days so it does not get cloudy. After a month or 2, transplant the root into a small pot of soil and the plant comes back even stronger. Tell me honestly in the comments, how many of you have been buying green onions every single week of your adult life without realizing the part you throw away is the part that grows? Drop it below. Scrap number 2, romaine lettuce. The bottom of a head of romaine, that white woody stub you cut off and toss without a second thought, is a fully functional plant that produces a brand new head of lettuce in about 2 weeks. Place that stub cut side up in a shallow dish with about ½ an inch of water in the bottom. Put it somewhere with indirect light. Within 4 days, you see tiny new leaves emerging from the center. Within 10 days, those leaves are big enough to start cutting. The regrown head will not be as massive as the original. Anyone telling you otherwise is lying to you. But it will be tender, it will be fresh, and it will be free, and 3 small regrown heads from 3 different stubs gives you a full salad. The same exact technique works for butter lettuce, Bibb lettuce, and most leaf lettuces. After about 3 weeks, the plant slows down and gets bitter. At that point, you compost it and start a new one from your next grocery run. Scrap number 3, celery. This is the one that genuinely stops people the first time they see it work, because the bottom of a celery stalk looks completely dead. It looks like a piece of wood. There is no way that thing is alive. Except it is, and it is about to prove it to you. Cut off the bottom 2 inches of a celery bunch, the woody base where all the stalks meet. Place it in a shallow bowl with about 1 inch of water, cut side up. Put it on a windowsill. Within 5 days, you see pale yellow-green new growth pushing up out of the dead-looking center. Within 2 weeks, that growth has turned into miniature celery stalks. After 3 weeks, transplant the base into a pot of soil and the plant takes off. You will not get a giant grocery store bunch from this. What you will get is a steady supply of tender inner stalks and leaves that are perfect for soups, stocks, mirepoix, and anywhere you would use celery for flavor rather than for raw crunch. The leaves alone, which most American grocery stores trim off before selling, are worth the entire process. Celery leaves taste like concentrated celery, and they make the best stock you have ever tasted in your life. If you are watching this and you are already mentally cataloging which scraps in your fridge you are about to test, that tells me you are exactly the kind of person this channel was built for. Subscribe right now. Hit that bell. The next video drops next week. Scrap number 4, garlic. Every garlic bulb you have ever bought has the potential to become 20 more garlic bulbs, and most Americans throw away the very cloves that make this possible. Have you ever pulled out a garlic bulb that had been sitting in your pantry too long and noticed little green shoots coming out of the cloves? Most people throw those away because they look weird or they assume they have gone bad. Those sprouted cloves are not garbage. They are next year's garlic harvest trying to start. Take a sprouted clove, plant it pointy side up about 2 inches deep in a pot of soil or directly in a garden bed. Water it. Walk away. That is the entire process. A single clove grows into a full head of garlic with anywhere from 6 to 12 new cloves over the course of about 8 to 9 months. Plant cloves in October in most of the country and harvest full heads the following July. From one head of garlic that cost you about $1 at the grocery store, you can plant 10 cloves and harvest 10 full heads. The reason your grandmother always seemed to have garlic and never bought it is because she figured this out generations ago and nobody ever told you because there is no money in telling you. Scrap number 5, ginger. A piece of fresh ginger root from any grocery store in America is a complete viable plant that will produce more ginger for the rest of its life if you let it. Look at your piece of ginger. Notice those little bumps and nubs along the surface. Those are eyes, the same way potatoes have eyes, and each one is a growth point. Cut a piece with at least 2 visible eyes, soak it in warm water overnight, because the grocery store sometimes treats ginger with a growth inhibitor, and the soak removes it. Plant the piece in a wide, shallow pot with the eyes facing upward, covered by about an inch of soil. Keep it warm, in indirect light. Water sparingly. Ginger hates being soggy, until you see green shoots emerge in about 2 to 3 weeks. From that point forward, you have a houseplant that produces fresh ginger root forever. Or do what I do and just leave the plant alone, gently digging at the edges whenever you need a chunk for cooking. Fresh homegrown ginger has about 3 times the flavor intensity of grocery store ginger because it has not been sitting in shipping containers crossing oceans for weeks. Scrap number 6, potatoes. If you have ever opened your pantry and found a forgotten potato that had grown long pale tendrils out of every eye and immediately thrown it in the trash because it looked alien and gross, I have bad news. You just threw away about 10 pounds of free potatoes. Sprouted potatoes are not bad potatoes. They are seed potatoes, and seed potatoes are what farmers pay actual money for at the start of every growing season. Cut a sprouted potato into chunks, making sure each chunk has at least one eye with a sprout coming out of it. Let those chunks sit on the counter overnight so the cut surfaces dry and form a protective callus. Plant them 4 inches deep. From each chunk, you get a plant. From each plant, you get 6 to 10 new potatoes. From one shriveled, forgotten potato, you can produce a 5-gallon bucket worth of fresh potatoes. They grow well in the ground, in containers, in old feed bags filled with soil, in large garbage cans drilled with drainage holes. Plant in March, harvest in July. How many potatoes have you thrown away in your life because they sprouted? Drop a number in the comments. I have a feeling this is going to be one of the more painful comment sections this channel has ever had. Scrap number 7, sweet potatoes. This works a little differently, and it is one of the most rewarding regrow projects you will ever do. Suspend a sweet potato halfway in a glass of water using toothpicks pushed into the sides with the bottom half submerged. Put it on a windowsill. Within 2 weeks, the submerged half starts sending out roots, and the top half sprouts green leafy stems called slips. Each slip is a complete future sweet potato plant. When the slips reach about 6 inches tall, gently twist them off the parent potato, place them in their own glass of water until they develop their own roots, and then plant them in soil. One single sweet potato typically produces 15 to 20 slips. Each slip becomes a plant. Each plant produces 3 to 5 new sweet potatoes. We are talking about 60 to 100 sweet potatoes from one starter that cost you maybe $1.50. The vines themselves are also edible, eaten as a green leafy vegetable across most of Asia and Africa. Scrap number 8, onions. Take the bottom inch of a regular yellow, white, or red onion, the rooty disc you cut off and throw away. Make sure you leave that flat root plate intact. Let it dry on the counter for a day. Then plant it in soil, root side down, with the top just barely poking through. Water it. Within a week, you see green shoots emerging from the center. Those shoots can be cut and used like green onions while you wait for the bulb to develop. Within 4 to 5 months, the plant produces a brand new onion underneath. The bulb will not always be as massive as a grocery store onion because grocery store onions are grown under specific commercial conditions, but it will be a real onion. Plant 5 onion bottoms over the course of a month, stagger your harvests, and you have onions year-round from food you were already throwing away. Scrap number 9, leeks. The same principle as green onions, but bigger and more rewarding. The white root end of a leek will regrow a brand new leek in a glass of water on your windowsill. Cut about 2 inches above the root base. Place it in a shallow glass with the roots submerged. Within a week, new green growth pushes up. Within 3 weeks, you have a small but completely usable leek for soups and stocks. Transplant it into soil after the first regrow, and the second growth comes back closer to grocery store size. Anyone who cooks with leeks regularly will save real money doing this because grocery store leeks regularly cost $3 to $4 per stalk in most American cities. Scrap number 10, fennel. Fennel bulbs operate on the same principle. Cut off the bottom inch of the bulb where the roots are, leaving about half an inch of the white bulb attached. Place it in shallow water on a windowsill. Within 3 days, new feathery growth emerges from the center. The fronds and tender new shoots regrow almost continuously. Most Americans are nervous about cooking with fennel because the bulbs are expensive and they do not want to waste money experimenting with an unfamiliar vegetable. Regrowing your own removes the fear entirely. When the next bulb is free, you start trying recipes you would never have attempted otherwise. Your cooking expands, your palate expands, your weekly grocery bill shrinks. That is the actual point of all of this. Subscribe right now. The home cooks who subscribe today are the ones whose grocery bills look completely different by next year. Be one of them. Scrap number 11, bok choy. The bottom of a bok choy plant regrows almost as fast as romaine lettuce, and the new leaves are some of the most tender Asian greens you will ever eat. Cut the white base off, leaving about 1.5 inches attached to the root. Set it in a shallow dish of water on a windowsill. Within 4 days, new pale green leaves are pushing out of the center. Within 10 days, you have a small head ready to harvest. Transplant the base into soil after the first regrowth, and you get a much larger second head. One starter base from the grocery store can produce 3 to 4 full plants over the course of a season, which translates to about $20 worth of bok choy from a single $1 grocery store purchase. The same technique works for Napa cabbage. Scrap number 12, cilantro. This is the herb that has frustrated more home cooks than any other plant on the produce shelf. People buy a giant bunch for a single recipe that uses 3 tablespoons, and the rest of the bunch slowly turns to slime in the back of the fridge. Stop. Before that bunch hits the trash, look at the bottom of the stems. If there are any roots still attached, even tiny ones, you have a regrowable plant. If there are no roots, take the freshest stems, place them in a glass of water, and within a week most of them sprout new roots from the cut ends. Once the roots are about 1 inch long, plant the stems in soil. Cilantro grown from grocery store cuttings establishes faster than cilantro grown from seed, and it bolts less readily because the plant has already passed through its initial vulnerable seedling stage. The same exact technique works for basil, mint, oregano, thyme, sage, and rosemary. Scrap number 13, basil. This deserves its own entry because it is the easiest woody herb to regrow and the most economically punishing one to keep buying. A small plastic clamshell of fresh basil costs around $4 and contains about 12 leaves. Take any basil stem, strip off the bottom leaves so only the top 2 pairs remain, and place the bare stem in a glass of water. Within 7 days, white roots emerge from the submerged portion. Within 14 days, those roots are robust enough to plant in soil. Within 4 weeks, you have a full basil plant producing more leaves than you can keep up with. From one $4 clamshell, you can root every stem and turn it into 10 basil plants. Pinch the growing tips regularly to encourage bushiness. Never let it flower if you want continuous leaf production, and one plant will keep your kitchen in fresh basil all summer long. Scrap number 14, mint. The mint you bought for one mojito recipe and never used again can become a permanent and frankly slightly aggressive feature of your kitchen forever. Drop a sprig in water, walk away for 5 days, come back to find roots already developing, plant it in a pot, Important warning, never plant mint directly in your garden bed unless you want it to colonize the entire area within 2 seasons. Mint is invasive in the most literal sense, and it will outcompete everything around it. In a container, however, it is perfectly behaved. One $4 grocery store bunch becomes a permanent kitchen mint supply that produces continuously for years. Tear off leaves whenever you need them. The plant gets bushier, not weaker, the more you harvest from it. Scrap number 15, lemongrass. Almost nobody in America knows you can do this, which is why a single stalk at most grocery stores costs $2 to $3, while a full lemongrass plant produces dozens of stalks. Take a lemongrass stalk with the base still intact, place it in a glass of water on your windowsill, and within 10 days, new roots emerge from the bottom and new green growth pushes up from the center. Plant it in a pot of soil, and within 3 months, you have a clumping plant producing usable stalks continuously. If you cook Thai, Vietnamese, or Indonesian food regularly, this single plant pays for itself in about 3 weeks of harvests. Scrap number 16, pineapple. This one is more about the experience than the economics, because realistically, you are not growing a pineapple farm in your living room. But the experience is amazing, and the result is real fruit. Take a pineapple, twist the leafy crown off the top, peel away the bottom couple layers of leaves to expose about an inch of bare stem, and let it dry on the counter for 2 days. Then place the dried stem in a glass of water with just the bare portion submerged. Within 3 weeks, roots emerge. Plant it in a pot of well-draining soil, give it a sunny windowsill, and you have a houseplant that will produce one new pineapple in about 18 to 24 months. Yes, 2 years. This is a long game. But that pineapple will be the sweetest fruit you have ever tasted in your life, because commercial pineapples are picked unripe to survive shipping, while your homegrown pineapple ripens fully on the plant. Scrap number 17, avocado. Almost every American has done the toothpick in an avocado pit experiment and watched it sit on a windowsill for months without producing anything. Here is what most people did wrong. They gave up too early. Avocado pits take 6 to 8 weeks to crack and send out a root, another 4 to 6 weeks to send up a stem. The whole process takes patience that most Americans simply do not have for a science experiment. Reality check. Indoor avocado trees grown from grocery store pits rarely produce fruit, and when they do, it takes 7 to 10 years. So why bother? Because the tree itself is gorgeous, it grows fast, and in the warmer parts of the country, you can plant it outside and eventually get real fruit. In zones 9 through 11, an avocado tree planted from a grocery store pit will eventually produce avocados, and once it does, it will produce hundreds of pounds per year for decades. Scrap number 18, lemon. Lemon seeds, the slippery little annoyances you spit out, are complete future lemon trees. Rinse the seed, peel off the outer hull while it is still moist, and plant the inner seed about ½ an inch deep. Keep it warm and moist. Germination takes 2 to 4 weeks. A lemon tree grown from a grocery store seed will not produce identical fruit to the parent, but it will produce lemons, eventually, given enough time and light. In containers indoors with a south-facing window, you are looking at 5 to 7 years to fruit. Outdoors in the warmer parts of the country, 3 to 5. The same technique works for oranges, limes, grapefruits, and tangerines. Even if you never get a single lemon, the plant itself earns its place in your home with intensely fragrant white flowers that perfume an entire room when they bloom. Scrap number 19, tomatoes. Slice an overripe tomato, scrape out the seed and jelly mass, and plant it directly in soil. That is the entire process. Each tomato slice contains anywhere from 20 to 50 viable seeds, and most of them will germinate within 10 days. From one overripe tomato that you are going to throw away, you can produce 100 tomato plants, each of which produces 10 to 30 pounds of fruit over the course of a summer. The math on this is absurd. Obviously, you do not need 1,500 pounds of tomatoes, but you can give plants away to neighbors, plant a few in containers on your patio, and turn one piece of trash into a summer of fresh tomatoes. One important note, hybrid tomatoes from grocery stores do not always produce true to the parent variety. Heirloom tomatoes from a farmer's market produce seedlings that are identical to the parent. Scrap number 20, peppers. Bell peppers, jalapenos, habaneros, poblanos, Every pepper you have ever bought contains 100 or more seeds, and all of them are viable. Slice a pepper, scrape out the seeds, let them dry on a paper towel for 2 days, and plant them. Pepper seeds germinate slower than tomato seeds, usually 2 to 3 weeks, and they need warm soil to do it well. From a single bell pepper that cost you $1.50, you can produce 20 pepper plants, each producing 10 to 15 peppers over a season. Spicy varieties are particularly worth growing this way because hot peppers at the grocery store are absurdly expensive on a per-pound basis, while a single homegrown habanero plant produces enough peppers to keep your hot sauce supply replenished for an entire year. Scrap number 21, butternut squash and pumpkin. The seeds inside any winter squash or pumpkin are complete future plants. Scoop them out, rinse off the slimy pulp, dry them on a paper towel for several days, and either plant them immediately if it is spring or store them in a paper envelope until the next growing season. Butternut squash plants are aggressive sprawlers that produce 10 to 15 large squashes per plant. From one butternut that you bought at the grocery store for $3, you can produce a single plant that yields 40 pounds of squash. Pumpkins behave the same way. The jack-o'-lantern you carved for Halloween contains enough seeds to plant a small pumpkin patch, which is exactly how generations of American families maintained perpetual pumpkin supplies before commercial seed catalogs existed. Scrap number 22, mushroom stems. This one surprises almost everyone. The bottom inch of a store-bought mushroom stem can be used to grow more mushrooms under the right conditions. Take the stems from a package of fresh oyster mushrooms or shiitake mushrooms, cut off the bottom inch where the white mycelium fibers are visible, and bury those pieces in a mix of damp cardboard and used coffee grounds in a dark plastic container with some air holes. Keep it cool and dark. Over the course of 3 to 6 weeks, the mycelium spreads through the medium, and eventually fruiting bodies, real mushrooms, push up out of the surface. This works best with oyster mushrooms because they are the most forgiving species for home cultivation. If you have ever priced gourmet mushrooms at the grocery store, you understand exactly how much money this can save. Scrap number 23, beet tops, carrot tops, and turnip tops. Beet greens are some of the most nutritious leafy vegetables on earth, and most Americans throw them straight in the trash without realizing they are completely edible. Here is the second-level trick. The cut top of a beet, the part where the stem meets the root that you slice off and discard, will regrow fresh greens if you place it in shallow water on a windowsill. The greens grow back within a week, and you can keep harvesting them for several weeks. The same technique works for carrots and turnips. The orange or white root portion will not regrow, but the leafy greens that emerge from the top will keep producing tender harvests for 2 to 3 weeks. Carrot tops in particular are surprisingly delicious, with a parsley-like flavor that is excellent in pesto and stocks. Scrap number 24, dried beans and lentils. Look in your pantry right now. That bag of dried black beans, pinto beans, lentils, or chickpeas is also seed stock. Every single dried bean in that bag is a complete viable plant, waiting for soil and water. Soak a handful overnight, plant them in a pot, and within 10 days, you have bean seedlings emerging from the soil. Black beans and pinto beans are particularly reliable. From a $1 bag of dried beans that contains hundreds of seeds, you can plant your entire garden bed and harvest 10 to 20 pounds of fresh beans by the end of the summer. The same logic applies to popcorn kernels. Standard popping corn from the grocery store will grow into corn plants that produce ears of popping corn. One bag of popcorn becomes a corn field. Scrap number 25, coffee grounds and tea leaves. This one is not technically growing food from scraps, but it belongs on this list because it is the foundation that makes everything else on this list grow faster and stronger. Used coffee grounds and used tea leaves are two of the best free fertilizers available to anyone with a kitchen. Coffee grounds add nitrogen to soil, lower the pH slightly, and improve drainage. Tea leaves do similar work and break down faster than most organic materials. Sprinkle used coffee grounds around the base of your tomato plants, your peppers, your herbs, your regrown lettuce, and watch them grow visibly faster. Bury used tea bags directly in the soil of your potted plants. This is fertilizer that you are currently throwing in the trash every single morning, and it costs nothing because you already paid for it when you bought the coffee or tea. Combine this with all 24 other regrown crops on this list, and you are running a self-sustaining food system out of your kitchen scraps with absolutely zero ongoing costs. If you have made it to the end of this video, I want you to do something before you click away. Walk into your kitchen right now. Open your fridge. Look at the produce drawer. Look at the herbs wilting in the back. Look at the bottoms of the lettuces, the bunches of green onions, the garlic that started sprouting, the ginger root from that one stir-fry recipe. Every single one of those things is potential food. Free food. Food you already paid for. Food that the produce industry has been counting on you not knowing about, because the entire business model depends on you coming back to that store every single week to repurchase the same plants you could have been regrowing on your own windowsill for years. A grocery bill that gets bigger every year is not a sign that food costs more. It is a sign that you are buying food in a form that has been deliberately designed to be single-use, when most of it is fully capable of producing for you indefinitely if you simply stop throwing the regrowable parts away. These 25 scraps are not a hack. They are not a trend. They are a return to a basic food literacy that most Americans had 100 years ago and lost somewhere along the way to the modern grocery store. Your great-grandmother knew most of what is in this video by the time she was 12 years old. The fact that this information feels novel to you now is not a reflection of your intelligence. It is a reflection of how thoroughly that knowledge has been buried by an industry that profits from your forgetting it. Which one of these 25 scraps are you going to test first this week? Tell me in the comments right now. Tell me what state you are in and which scrap you are most excited to try. I read every single comment, and your answers shape the videos I make next. If this video saved you even one trip to the produce section over the next year, the very least you can do is hit subscribe before you leave. It is free, it costs you nothing, and it means the next video, which goes even deeper into this exact subject, finds you automatically. And before you close this tab, go look at your trash can one more time. Whatever is sitting in there right now, there is a good chance it was about to grow. Thank you for watching. For more forgotten gardening wisdom, check out the other videos on your screen now, and don't forget to subscribe.